I think one of the things that, going back to my Heal the Bay days, whenever you had a problem like this, that the key thing always was that the environmental community would talk to the affected industry and then figure out what the right path was. And then you'd go forward and talk to the state and say, this is what, hey, the environmental community and the affected industry, whether it's the restaurants or it's the fishermen, we agree this is something that we need to do. We recommend A, B, and C. So what are you going to do to actually make this a reality? And I think that's the sort of, that dialogue needs to be restarted.
I wrote an article recently about a style of restaurant from Nayarit that sells grilled snook as sort of their specialty, pescados arandeado. And one of the proprietors had served me, sea bass done the same way as the snook, saying that it was getting sort of harder and harder to catch. And although, I'd done 7 meals in this thing, and I'd almost written the piece, I started to freak out a little because I didn't want to encourage people to eat a fish that was endangered. So I did some reading about it and some research about it, and found out that actually, mostly because of sport fishing and because snook is such a treasured, sport fish, that you're not allowed to catch it commercially in Florida, and that in the Gulf it's not doing so well, but that along the Pacific coast it's one of the most abundant species, and it was coming from the Pacific coast. So I felt, encouraged by the IUCN that I could write about it. When I wrote about Yucatecan Place a couple weeks ago, they served empanadas stuffed with cazón, and I'd always thought of cazón as shark, and you're not supposed to eat shark. And I was flipping out about it a little bit. And then, what happens when you do that? If you don't have my brother to call, you do some research, and you find out that cazón is, obviously it's shark, but it's more commonly known as dogfish, and it's by far, far, far the most abundant shark species in the sea, and is in no danger of disappearing again in the area where it's being caught for this restaurant. So I think it's necessary for me to do my homework, and for people doing my particular job to do the homework.